Ep25 31 of the golfing calendar. And live from the Australian Golf Centre, home of the USGA of Australia and Golf Australia. This is talk birdietome with Nick O'Hearn and Mark Allen.
What on earth was that? Honestly, we were having a bit of fun with Latvia last week, and the most ridiculous thing is that somehow you played with someone from Latvia, or what happened last week?
You won't believe this. So, yeah, Dan, you sent out on the socials about how we don't have any Latvian followers. All that. Yeah,
it's disappointing.
It is disgraceful.
Yeah.
I was playing and down at the National on last Wednesday. Beautiful weather out there, by the way, on the Gunnamatta course with some friends of mine, Mark Robertson, Ray Mack, who you know.
Yeah, I know Ray.
You know Ray at Kingston.
Bit of Lee Trevino about Ray.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And Mark brought along a friend of his, Bruce Shaw, and we got chatting as you do. We're out on the golf course, and said, "Oh, how many kids do you have, Bruce?" He said, "Oh, well, my daughter's in New York at the moment." And I said, "Oh, what's she doing?" "Oh, well, she's married my son-in-law. He's Latvian." And I've gone, "You are kidding me." Okay, this is our chance. So I said to him, "By the way, I do a podcast, etc. We haven't got any Latvian listeners." So I said, "Can you put the word out to the son-in-law?" Which he did. I think his name's Kirill, he said.
Oh, hi, Kirill.
But the problem was Kirill, he doesn't play golf. So he said he'll have a listen. But I said, no. He'll be in New York. That's not going to come up as someone listening from Latvia. Right. So he's got to send the message to the family in Latvia. So, Dan, you need to check, this week. I think we might have some downloads.
I'm keeping it on this. There was nothing about 2 hours ago.
But I haven't heard anyone talk about someone from Latvia in forever, and all of a sudden, 2 days after we're talking about it.
Ridiculous.
Yeah,
ridiculous. Hey, we've got a lot to get through today. We've seen a major, and
two, actually.
Celine, she actually had the opposite of a banana peel start. She just absolutely blistered. I want to talk about her. I want to talk about one of the worst finishes I've ever seen in my life at the 3M Open and how much money it cost one particular person. Bads did well. The PGA Tour is set up for next year. Now, it all changes in 2024. You've got some information about that, and the local rule as well, that the PGA Tour aren't going to put in place that the USGA and the RNA desperately want the top liners to put in place. So we've got stacks to get through. Let's talk about the Evian first up. Celine, now is Boutier. I've heard it say 1,000 different ways this week watching it.
I would have said Boutier. It's like, a bit like Stuart Bouvier. Remember Stuart?
Yeah. I know Stewie quite well. He was a bloody good player, Stuart. Celine just did it so easily, and it's the second major in a row where there was nothing to watch.
There was no drama.
There was just brilliance. And when I talk about, now we've got to come up with a name because we've got the banana skin start.
Right?
Listen to this start. Stands on the first tee in the last round.
4-shot lead?
She had a 4-shot lead. All right, so just the awkward one. It's not 8. We could get off to a banana skin start and stuff it up and be okay. Birdies 1, birdies 2. Pars 3 and 4, difficult holes. Birdies 5. 3 under start and tournament basically over.
6-shot lead at that stage.
1 bogey on 13, 1 birdie on 15, and just fair dinkum. You don't see it too often when someone looks in such control and just moseys around the back 9 like it's no big deal. $1 million was the first place check. That's big cash.
Very big.
And she made it look like, I don't know, she's playing the Box Hill Pro-Am. It was incredible just to watch this young lady do what she did.
I saw a little bit of the golf because, as you know, it is my favourite major on the women's game.
Yes,
not quite. Yeah,
everyone's favourite major.
But the views are incredible.
Unbelievable.
Incredible views around there.
Unbelievable.
The golf course, I'm not sure it's one of the highest regarded in that sense.
Let's be honest. The golf course is rubbish.
I was being kind.
Yeah, it's a rubbish golf course with the best views on the planet.
Yeah.
Pretty simple. And there's nothing wrong with that.
It's a little bit like that Croix-Cessière on the European tour where we play the Amiga Masters.
Yes.
Not the best golf course, but the views are phenomenal.
Ridiculous.
Phenomenal.
Ridiculous.
But she played an outstanding round of golf, shot a closing 68 for her first major. I looked her up just to get us a sense of what she's 5 foot tall. I thought she was taller than that.
No, tiny.
Incredible.
Tiny. Brooke Henderson, 2 under in the front 9, no bogeys. Celine Boutier, just, 1 under through the first, they all got off to cracking starts. So
Minjie Lee had a chance too, didn't she, going into the final round 4 or 5 behind, which she came from behind last time she won at the Evian, but unfortunately
Shot
didn't put it.
75.
Yeah, had a bad day.
Picked up 81,000. But Stephanie Kyriacou shot 68 in the last round, picked up $81,000. So she's doing some nice things, Stephanie. She's doing some really nice things.
Yeah, she's exempt for next year.
Anyway, the Evian's done and dusted, and not really a hell of a lot to talk about. I know you'll give us some other results a bit later.
One thing that came, I know we're going to talk about the rules a bit later, but I think because we're on the Evian already, there was a bit of controversy earlier in the week with the Spanish player Carlota Ciganda.
Right. Now, notoriously slow.
She is a slow player, yes. She reminds me a little bit in Sergio Garcia, the mannerisms and how she goes. And Sergio's not the fastest player either. So she came to the final hole, I think 2 or 3 holes left. They were put on the clock.
They were on the clock early.
They were.
Yep.
And on the final green, she took 52 seconds to hole her putt, or to putt out on one of her shots.
So if you don't know,
40 seconds is the...
First player, 40 seconds, is it?
No,
Second player, 50 and 50?
It's 40. I think it's 40 for
so
everyone.
So it's 40
now.
for everybody now?
I believe so.
Or was it 50 for the first player and then 40 and 40 for the second and third?
Yes, there you go.
That's what it is.
Yep. So she was in the scorer's hut, and the official came up and said, look, you took too long. We're going to assess you a 2-stroke penalty. She was 4 over at the time. The cut was 5 over. So if she'd have added the penalty to a scorecard, she would have been 6 over and missed the cut.
That's right.
So she said, no, I'm refusing to sign this card. So they disqualified her.
Yeah. Now,
what do you think?
Well, this is the way that she has described it. Okay, so she's on the very last hole in the second round. The group behind is not on the tee.
That doesn't matter, though.
I get that. But if I was a rules official, I would take that into consideration. I would say, okay, they've done their bit. They have got in front. And even though it's not in the rules, I know that's an important putt. And I'm going to cut you a break here because thank you for making up some ground on that group behind. So,
well, they didn't, actually. That's why they were still on the clock. They hadn't made up any ground.
Oh, they actually hadn't made up any ground
on the group in
the
front.
Field. So the group behind actually got a little bit slower.
They were probably on the clock as well.
Right. If I'm the rules official, I still take that into consideration.
Okay.
Because you're not holding that group up. So that's what I would have done. And what I don't like about it is if she's notoriously slow, this should have happened years ago. This sort of stuff, and don't make it a long last, you know. If she's slow, she's slow. If he's slow, he's slow. Wherever they're slow, get them there. Don't wait until the 36th hole of the tournament to say we're going to give you 2. That's what I don't like about that ruling. You?
The officials certainly have some leeway either way to make a judgment call. But personally, I think I can see why she's upset because there is a bit of inconsistency the way they go about these rulings. I think they need to start taking a more hard line stance. So I didn't actually mind it. Yeah. Tough for her to miss the cut, but it actually sends a message saying, look, we're going to get you wherever you are. First hole, last hole, it doesn't really matter where you are. If it's slow, you're slow. They need to start implementing these penalty strokes, I think, just to help speed up the entire round because it's not getting any better. It really isn't. And they need more of this. And there are a lot of slow players out there. And there are notorious ones who are slow, but when they see the official, they get on the clock, they play faster. Yeah. Bernard Langer is a great example.
Absolutely.
And
it drives you crazy.
And then when the official disappears, guess what? He goes back to being slow again. You go, oh my gosh, this just keeps going in circles. So they need to either call out these players, make a list, put it up in the locker room. That'd be fantastic.
Okay.
I think we've spoken about this before.
Yeah, we have.
Yeah.
I want to float something past you, though. If, let's call it Bernard Langer, okay? Even though he's an ornament to the game, let's make it all about him. All righty. Let's say that he's put on the clock early in a round and then he speeds up like he has his entire life, gets back into position, his whole group gets back into position. I think if he falls out of position again, I think that's it. That would be my way moving forward. If I was going to alter the rules moving forward, that would be certainly one of mine. That if you are put on the clock once, even if you make up ground, if you slip, let's say, 2 minutes out of position, one more time.
The issue there is it may not be his fault. Maybe someone lost a ball. They had to look for a ball for a few minutes. Yeah. There's a ruling going on there.
But
it's a grey area. Well, that's when they go back on the clock and then you just bang
Bang.
straight into them again. Now, ideally, you'd love to have official with every group. like they do at the Open Championship and the majors, but they don't do that obviously on the PGA Tour or the LPGA either. So it's going to be an ongoing thing. But I think if they start taking more of this hardline stance, start penalising people where it actually means something, people will speed up.
Yeah. Tell me this: if Bernard Langer, if that does happen to Bernard, and then he's back on the clock again, they don't penalise the group, do they? They only penalise the player who is slowing down the group.
Well, it used to be every player is on the clock.
Yeah. So my question back to you is, if everybody in that group was going to lose a shot, would that in a roundabout way solve it? Because now that player
That's tough.
it's not just about him, it's about the others.
Yeah, they got to start calling out there. Right?
So you know, you can play slow, but now you're costing me shots, buddy.
Well, you know what the best thing to do would put three slow players together.
Yeah.
That's going to sort them out real quick.
Well, this is exactly right. If they really wanted to get tough about slow play on any tour anywhere in the world, they could. They can. But they've chosen not to for so long, and now we're getting to this obscene stage in golf where not only if you are watching it on TV, but if you're actually going to it, to watch them just trundle down the fairway, like they're, I don't know, like they're at the fair, just walking to the next ride or something. I mean, I don't know. I think it's got to be knocked on the head. Well,
the other rule, we'll talk about rules as we go, but another rule that the USGA has just decided to bring in this year is for their elite amateur events, there's going to be no looking at yardage books on the greens.
Yeah, I love it.
And I love that rule.
I love it.
I mean, we had the green reading books. Remember, they brought those in. Now, they've been banned, I think, since. But players still do look at the yardage books. So what is happening in the amateur events is once they get on the greens, they cannot look at their books. So all of a sudden, guess what? You've got to look at the ground.
Yeah,
You've got to see what the slope's doing rather than looking in the yardage book.
It is a fantastic rule. And please, can we just adopt it? Because green reading is one of the great arts in golf. Arnold Palmer's got a famous line about this. Someone asked him one day, do you think you're the best putter on tour? And he said, no, I don't think I'm the best putter. I'm the best green reader. And I love that about Arnold.
That is good.
I love it. And I think there is a terrific art. I mean, if we're talking about people who read greens for a living, Steve Williams, I think he's got about 5 pictures at home where in the picture, which his player winning a tournament, it says great read. Adam Scott's one, Tiger Woods is another. He used to caddy for Greg Norman. He used to caddy for Raymond Floyd. I'm sure they feature up there as well. And apparently it's the same message, great read, on these winning pictures that he's got in his house. So it is an art form, and I'm really very, very happy with the USGA making it plain to these junior golfers what the story is moving forward.
Yeah, so bring the art back into the green reading, take the science out of it, and also faster play for me is a skill.
All right. Did you see the 3M Open finish?
I did not. I was playing golf this morning, so I did miss it. I'm sorry, Mark. Fill me in.
Let me tell
I know who won.
Let me tell you what happened. So Lee Hodges, he wins his first tournament. He ends up winning by 7 shots. I've just done the math.
7?
7 shots.
Okay. I thought it was 6, but 7. All right.
On the 72nd hole on the tee, he only had a 3-shot lead.
Okay.
Right. And JT Poston, he had a 3-shot lead on second. So it's a par 5, and the second shot's across water. JT's hit a drive. His ball has crossed the hazard line on the bank of this big bit of water that you have to carry.
So he's on a bit of a downslope?
He's on a downslope, and the ball is a foot below his feet.
Oh.
So double bagger.
How far has he got?
He's got a hybrid in his hands, and it's in longish rough as well. So JT, in his wisdom, is thinking, I need eagle.
Even then.
Can I tell you how more stupid this is? Okay.
Okay, please.
Lee Hodges had it already laid up.
So he's not making bogey.
He's not making eagle, right? He's not making. He's probably not making birdie.
Yeah.
He's probably not. If you look at the odds, he did in the end, but he's probably not. He still takes out his hybrid, and the ball didn't cross much land to begin with, hit the rocks at the start of the green and bounced straight backwards. So
now he's playing 4. Where did he drop?
So he's gone back on the fairway. He probably could have got there, but they've done their maths, and they thought if we can just take 4 shots from here, or 3 shots,
we're going to finish runner-up.
We're going to finish runner-up. So he's laid up, hit a poor shot. I reckon he was a little bit thick, and he's 3-putted for 8.
Oh, no.
And he's finished tied second.
Oh.
So
how much cash did that cost?
I want you to try and work this out. Come on, we'll see how good you are with your maths. So Lee Hodges made $1.4 million for winning the event. That's 18%.
Mm-hmm.
10% is reserved for second. Oh, no, 12%.
Yeah, I think it's 12.
12. It's 12% reserved for second. So I'm thinking he's made about...
Well, it depends what the
purse is.
What was the purse? 6 or 8 million?
So let's say let's work this out. So if it's 5 million, 18% of 5 million is 900,000. So it's basically
sounds like an $8 million event.
It's an $8 million event. What's 12% of 8 million? 800. So it's going to be around 900.
960.
960. So in the end, he has split second, third, and fourth. So you add all that. I reckon that triple bogey's cost him $400,000.
Oh, and what
that 3-putt.
And then you've got FedEx Cup points and things like that.
So
Jeez.
I think in the end, the 3-putt from 25 feet has cost him $400,000 or $500,000.
That's huge.
All trying to hit a miracle shot.
Okay, I'm trying to get the breakdown here. It looks as though maybe this was last year's. It
Yeah,
wasn't
that's
2023.
Yeah, but go on. We'll get the gist.
I would say, it's cost him about $350,000 to $400,000. Okay,
Holy moly!
That's US dollars.
Right, so it's half a brick, half an Aussie brick.
Yeah,
just for a 3-putt and for some silly thinking.
So you think about that putt for your $5 voucher on the last green.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, I'll just have a look. You just mentioned the FedEx Cup. So we've got it here somewhere. Where is it? JT Poston. He started out 60, so he's inside the top 70.
Mm-hmm.
Want to talk about that in a tick. And projected now after making the triple bogey 8 on the last, he's just snuck in the top 50, so he's 49.
Okay.
So it's not a complete disaster there, but...
And he's doing well. He's already probably made a few million this year, but he could have made a few 100,000 more. But I wouldn't, for everyone else out there, that's still a lot of money.
Still a lot of money.
Yeah.
But the shot, if you saw the lie, Nick, if you saw the lie,
really,
and you saw the situation,
just aim left, lay it up,
and the guy who's leading by 3 has already laid up. What the hell are you doing? He's trying to hole it.
Well, if I would have thought if Hodges had been leading by 2, you'd think, okay, he's going to make par. I have to make eagle. If he's laid up into a good spot, he's got wedge in. He's not making 6.
No.
So
he ended up spinning a wedge to 2 foot and tapped in for another birdie.
Did he
it was
really?
ridiculous.
So what's the caddy's role in this situation? He'd be giving him a bit of advice, I presume.
The caddy should have put him in a headlock.
Yeah.
And should have just... In fact, if I was the caddy...
Give him his 9-iron and say, here you go, I'm running the other way.
I would have thrown his hybrid and his 3-wood into the water so he couldn't use them.
Yeah.
If he was even contemplating using them. It was the stupidest thing I have seen for a long, long time on a golf course.
I see Aaron Baddeley had a great result. Top 10.
Yes.
Top 10 also. He finished tied for 7th, but that gets him into the Wyndham Championship next week as well, which is huge.
Did you see his eldest daughter has been writing letters to tournaments for him?
Heard about
it's
that,
fantastic. Isn't that good?
Trying to get invitations.
Yeah, just doing the nice thing.
Yeah.
And giving reasons why.
Well, that basically you'd think it almost locks up his card. He went from 109 to 92 on the FedEx Cup. So if he can have probably another top 10 or top 5 next week, I would think might get him into the FedEx Cup playoffs because top 70 for the playoffs.
Now, you've done your homework here, which I appreciate because I've done none on this, so I appreciate it.
I've done minimal, but
the reason we want to talk about it is because once upon a time, if you got into the top 120 or top 125, which got you into the FedEx Cup finale, or the 4-tournament finale on the PGA Tour, you were set for next year, regardless of whether you'd won a tournament or not. You're all exempt for next year. 2024, that all changes.
Mm-hmm.
And that is not bringing into account the new situation with the PIF and Live Golf and everything else.
Who knows what that's going to do?
What we do know is that the FedEx Cup this year is only open to the top 70 on those standings at the end of the season. And now there's obviously more to it, and there's only 3 tournaments this year. Was there only 3 tournaments last year as well? I think there might have been 3 or 4.
Not sure last year. Yeah, but
Anyway,
it used to be 4. Now it's 3.
So it is changing. What have you found?
So after next week's event, the Wyndham Championship, the top 70 qualify for the FedEx Cup playoffs. First event is the FedEx St. Jude's Classic, and then what happens then is top 50 go on to the next event, and then top 30 is the final event. So if I work my way backwards, if you make it through to the top 30 in the end, which is the BMW Championship, you get a 2-year exemption on the PGA Tour.
Gee, that's
It
new.
gets you into all the designated events, the full field events, invitation. It gets you into everything.
It used to get you in the Masters too, top 30.
It probably still does. Yeah.
And I think it actually got you into the rest of the majors, all the majors.
It usually does.
And
Well, if you're in the top 30, you're
Yeah,
probably
you're gonna
top
get
50 in the
there.
world anyway, and you're going to be in now. Top 50, that gets you into the designated events next year, 2024.
Post-season. So after the President's Cup next year.
2024.
Yep.
Yeah, when the new designated events are coming into or this new calendar's coming out and all that.
Yes.
Now the top 70 is you're exempt into all the full field events and the invitationals. But what happens after the FedEx Cup playoffs is from 51 onwards, 51 and up, they're all going to play in this fall series.
Right.
Because what they're going to all play, you can improve your standings to then hopefully get into the designated events for next year.
Right, yeah. So if you finished, 100...
If you're top 125, you still keep your card at the end of the year.
And you play in the fall series and hopefully improve your ranking.
Yeah, exactly. And then at the end of the year, once the whole season's done, top 125 gets fully exempt card, and then so on and so forth.
Right. Can I give you one
Clear as mud.
bubble boy for next week? Yeah, well, no, I reckon you did pretty good.
It was okay.
I understood it. We got one bubble boy I can see.
Okay.
Cam Davis is currently, after finishing tied 10th.
Tied 10th.
So he's currently 69th. So he's right on that bubble. So he needs to play. He probably just needs to make a cut.
Needs to make the cut. Yeah, probably a top 40 finish, something like that. Also, by the way, the 3M, did you see Daniel Gale Monday qualified?
Yes.
And he with a slam dunk.
Yes.
On the last hole.
Shot 60 in the pre-chop on Monday.
Yeah. That's 2 years in a row he's qualified for this 3M Open.
But
and he was on track to make the cut, playing well the first round, but then he struggled.
Did you see what the PGA Tour did to him, though?
What?
I was a little bit dirty, right? So
Okay.
if you've seen this kid play, and you would have seen him all last summer if you were watching Fox Sports and what you and I did, we saw him a lot. He's got an unusual swing.
Yeah, it is.
Right? It's an unusual swing. The PGA
It's a
Tour...
bit Kenny Perry-ish to me.
Yeah. And, shaft line's going all over the joint. He's got a big floppy hat.
What did they do to him?
They said, here is one of our Monday qualifiers and his unusual swing.
Okay.
And they showed it. And they got all the slow-mos.
That's great for him. It's good
And
publicity.
They got him to talk about his unusual swing.
Okay.
So whoever spoke to him goes, tell us about the way you swing the club and what, it's all yours. I don't know.
That's okay. Good luck to him.
I had an unusual swing. If somebody came up to me after they saw me play early days and they're going, tell us about that unusual swing of yours, I would have been heartbroken because I was always trying to swing it nicely.
You probably thought, geez, I'm swinging it great. What are you talking about?
I'm playing fantastic.
I think my left foot's planted,
Anyway, he ended up making a couple of double bogeys late in that round, or a couple of double bogeys on each 9. I think it worked out, and he ended up missing the cut by a fair bit. What was the cut? It was a very low cut. It was about 4 or 5 under.
I think it was 4 under.
Hey, just talking about the new setup for next year, the local rule that you and I were really in favour of, well, the PGA Tour came out this week and said they don't think so.
No.
So I want to talk to you about this on the 10th tee. I'll see you there.
Okay.
Like the podcast? Oh, maybe tell a friend. Drop them a text or share it on your socials. This is Talk Birdie to Me with Nick O'Hearn and Mark Allen.
Hey, I noticed you didn't spotline when you hit your drive off the 10th tee. What the hell's wrong with you? I saw all the girls spotlining. I want you to do a masterclass about spotlining, but you don't spotline.
I can do the masterclass on that. I don't spotline or shaft line, whatever you want to call it.
Who calls it shaft
Well, I don't
lining?
know. You said they hold their shaft up, pointing down the line.
I watched a lot of the girls. A lot of the girls who spotline use their shaft to spotline.
So it's when they stand behind the ball and aim. So
Yeah.
basically, it's to I'll do that in the masterclass. I know what
that'd
it's
be
all
good.
about.
That'd be good.
But I don't do it because I kind of know where I'm aiming.
So, we spoke earlier about the US tour putting out an announcement last week that the local rule that the RNA and the USGA suggested that they use in elite competition, meaning that they'll be using balls that didn't go as far in elite competition, they put out a press statement this week saying we're not doing it. What do you make of that? I mean, I was actually shocked.
Very disappointed.
Yeah, really.
Rory
disappointed.
McIlroy's behind it. He was thinking he's going to start using the new ball in tour events, even though they don't have to do it.
What?
For the majors, because I have a feeling it may come into the majors. The PGA Tour, you see, don't run any of the majors.
That's right.
The RNA do the Open, USGA, US Open, PGA of America, PGA, the US PGA.
The only one that got the Players' Championship that
Well,
Randall
if you
Chambly
want
was
to call
the fifth major. Yeah, that's
sure.
right. Yeah.
So if the USGA and RNA bring it into those majors, well, then all of a sudden the players will have to get used to this other ball. So Rory was saying he will play this new ball in regular PGA Tour events, even though he wouldn't have to if the PGA Tour does not take it up. And apparently they're not behind it. And I was pretty disappointed because we've spoken about this before. For every golfer out there, it's really not going to make any difference to us.
That's right.
Who's swinging it around the 100 mile an hour or less. Club head speed.
We would not notice the difference at all.
No, it's only for the players that hit at an absolute mile, who'd really generate 115, 120 mile per hour club head speed. But it will help protect the golf courses. They won't have to keep lengthening these things where they're going into different properties and churning up, expenditure for maintaining golf courses and all this sort of thing.
Yeah.
So the great golf courses of the world, they won't get changed.
Yeah.
Or will be less changed because, look, they're actually not limiting that much.
That's
to be
right.
honest, it's only going to be 15 yards
15 yards.
to a 330-yard drive already. I mean, that's crazy. So,
But there'll be people out there who go, it's only 15 yards, who cares? But it's the golf club that cares because they can't keep on going backwards. They've run out of real estate. It would be, if you're an AFL person, if they invented a Sharon that instead of going 50 metres, went 80 metres. Well, we're just not going to make the MCG or Adelaide Oval or the SCG. It's not going to get any bigger.
You take a mark on the edge of the square and all of a sudden you kick it into the grandstand.
That's right. So it just, what it does is it changes the dynamic of the sport.
Yeah.
And, you go back 30 years, I think Dan Powell was leading it with 276 yards, or 40 years. Dan Powell was an ex-baseball player. He hit it 10 past everybody else.
Too, right?
No,
No?
one-hander. Yeah,
Okay.
Short swing.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought he was a lefty, sorry.
No, he might have been a switch hitter when he was a baseballer.
Maybe.
Who knows?
But you know where this is coming from, though. Obviously, the manufacturers and the players who are on bonuses to get those things. So we know where it's coming from. It's all money related.
That's right. No, I'm with Titleist. So hopefully I don't lose my little contract here. But if I was Justin Thomas.
I use the Titleist gear myself.
Good. If I was Justin Thomas and Mr. Kushnet came to me and said, hey, listen, we need to win this little battle here. We're paying you $3 million a year to use our golf ball. We don't want you siding with anyone else but us. I would look at Mr. Kushnet and say, I got your back.
Yep. Yes,
no
boss.
worries. I've got your back. Don't worry about me. So this is why I think instead of it being a local rule, the USGA and the RNA have made a big mistake here. Don't make it a local rule. Make it a rule. Make it this is what we're doing moving forward. We're making golf balls that spin more with the driver, or however you want to do it.
Yep.
However you want to do it. And the reason we're doing this is not to ruin the Titleist or the TaylorMade or the Callaway bottom line in they're selling their golf balls. We're not doing it for that. We're doing that so the best golf courses don't get made to look ridiculous when the big boys come to town. And we spoke about this, the Women's US Open. The Women's US Open was a great event, but it wouldn't have been the same if it wasn't at Pebble Beach. So the great golf courses, we've got to preserve them like we preserve the Adelaide Oval and the SCG and the Gabba. It's this. We don't want to have to go and build bigger ones. We want them to be, so we can kind of see, Nick O'Hearn walking down the fairways of Merriam like Ben Hogan used to.
Mm.
And we've got some kind of gauge as to how good everybody is.
Yeah, well, the old course at St Andrews, how many tee boxes now are not inside the fence line that they used to be? It's something like 5 or 6.
Five. Five tee boxes are out of bounds.
Yeah.
They're not even on the golf course.
It's unbelievable.
It is ridiculous.
Yeah.
It can't go any further.
No.
So I was disappointed. I understand why that the PGA Tour have come out, and believe me, I don't think the PGA Tour at the moment are in a position, after what they've done with the Live Golf, to go against what the players want, are they? You can imagine if Jay Monahan had a little bit of kickback about the ball after what's just happened with Live Golf and everything else. The players would have him removed immediately.
Yeah.
If the PGA Tour didn't support it. Anyway.
Yeah, I hope the Masters, the US Open, I hope they implement this model local rule and they have the players using the new stuff. So we'll see.
Well, if the Masters do it and the US Open do it, you would think the Open.
And then the Open. Sorry, that's the other one. Yep.
What about the PGA?
Well, I
it's
think
a different entity, isn't it?
It's another different entity, yeah. But I would think they'd follow suit because they're all aligned. The governing bodies, and the PGA Tour sits off to the side, but also they're aligned with them as well. You would think, but apparently not.
Yeah.
So crazy.
So, last question on this: when you played in Colorado or in really high altitude places, it was the same ball, but basically it was a different ball because there was less friction up in that altitude. And your 150-yard 9-iron Nick probably went 165 yards. Is that right? Something like that?
It was generally around 10%.
10%.
Well, hang on. It's there is a rule. I wrote this in my book. I was trying to think how far it was. It was a yard for extra every. What was it?
1,000 feet?
Might have been 2 meters for every 1,000 feet, something like that. Yeah. So
Right.
5,000 feet, I know I was hitting the ball 10 meters further.
So how long did it take you to get used to that?
Couple of holes.
Yeah, 3 holes.
It wasn't long.
That's exactly
you
right.
figure it out.
It's 3 holes.
Yeah.
So you mentioned
They'll adjust.
You mentioned Rory McIlroy talking about using that ball all the way through. I bet he doesn't.
Well,
I bet he doesn't because it's going to take him 3 holes to get used to the new ball.
Probably not. Yeah. Well, when they had the small ball and the big ball back in the day, I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty simple.
And by the way, every time these players warm up now, they've got that little machine. It's not even a TrackMan. It just sits. It sits kind of opposite on the other side of the ball where they're standing.
What is it? It's a G4 quad or something. It's
called.
I think.
G4 quad.
Yes.
What a machine! I've had a go. It's
Have you?
Unbelievable. Sets you back about 16,000 or something.
Ooh, okay.
I think there's another one that only sets you back about 5 if you're really desperate to know how far it goes. But it would only be a matter of putting one of those in front of you. On the tee.
Yeah, dial your numbers in very quick. And the reason they're doing that each week is because the conditions change, whether it's hot or cold, or you want to know how much. It's only 2 or 3 yards here or there for those players.
Yeah.
But they also want to know exactly what it's doing on that day.
Yeah. It won't take long for them to get it. Now, Dan, I know you've been under the weather and you've had a cold, but it is time for some feedback. How are you feeling? You all right?
I still have a cold and I still am very croaky.
That's the sexy voice, Dan.
But it's not remotely sexy, but I'll push on.
You look good.
Plenty of feedback and a couple of questions for you guys too. The first bit of feedback here is from Ray Mack.
Hey, there's Ray.
Ray has said, "Hey Nick and Mark, how about talking Latvian in your next podcast?"
Right, well, we talked about that for you.
We talked about a Latvian.
Ray's got one of the best jumper games in Australia. Beautiful jumpers wherever he goes. He's the most well-dressed club golfer I've ever seen.
He certainly is. I have a feeling his wife Farah might pick him out for him because she's very well-dressed as well.
Question for you guys from Brett. Brett has said, "What advice do you give to overcome mental frustration when you're trying to improve in practice and more predominantly when playing a round of this game that we love so much?"
Excellent question. I don't reckon Nick had too much frustration. I did. Who am I talking to?
Brett.
I found when I was practicing and trying my hardest to get better at golf, there were a lot of times when I was frustrated. You had to just check yourself and check your direction. And you've got to get in your head that, you know what, I'm happy with the direction I'm trying to go. And then go hit a few chips or go and hit a few putts and then come back a little bit later and start again. But if you are frustrated on the driving range, and you get a little bit confused about the direction you think you might be going, that's a rotten situation to be in. You've actually got to clear your head.
Yeah,
You've got to stop and go do something else just for a little bit.
Well, as we know, a couple of things there, I think, for me is, firstly, if you are frustrated and you're not exactly sure about what you're doing on the driving range, well, you go get a lesson from your local PGA pro. We know that.
Absolutely.
On the golf course, if you're feeling that same frustration, the one thing that always worked for me whenever I was struggling mentally on the course was to switch off between shots. That's so important, because that downtime you have, those few minutes between hitting the little white golf ball, which tends to annoy the heck out of us, if you can take your mind away from the game, that just gets your mind refreshed by the time you get up to the next shot.
Tick,
and
tick.
away you go again.
A question from John Tymonson here, and you answered this one online, Nick, but we'll ask it again on the podcast. What about Billy Horschel setting up for putts? It looks really awkward. What is he trying to achieve with this approach? It just doesn't seem to be that effective.
Yeah, Billy gets a bit of a run, doesn't he?
Oh, that was part of our... Well, we should have included that in our... what was it? The most awkward?
Awkward, worst looking, annoying over the ball players.
Toughs to watch, yeah.
Yeah, but we were only thinking about swings, weren't we?
We
should
were.
have been thinking about putts.
Forgot about the putts.
Yeah, Billy's hard to watch when he's going back and forth, open, shut. Okay, I'll settle now, I'll stroke it.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of a dog trying to find somewhere to pee, a bit like Bob Estes when he tees the ball up.
That is exactly what it looks like.
I see Billy had the beard on this way, and he played well too. Yeah. Because remember he shot 84 a few weeks ago,
I remember
was
the
in tears, and
yeah,
he's found his game again, which is great.
No, it's annoying. Please don't do it. That's the answer.
Thanks
Stop
for the question there, John.
Got a comment from AJ Dubai here, and this is on the Open from a week and a half ago. Thoughts on crowds, guys? I thought the fans were the worst I've ever heard at an Open. So much of the Bubba Booey nonsense. Most of them sounded like they had American accents. Why didn't security boot these morons out? And I thought it was one of the more boring Opens. Your thoughts, please.
Well, it was only boring because one bloke played so well that he made it boring, apart from those banana peel starts that he had on Saturday and Sunday, which were interesting for about 5 minutes, and then he just kept on making birdies. I don't like the Bubba Booey stuff. And we all know, that time of year, it is boys' trip, mega, it's Mecca for the boys' trip. The golfing blokes' trip from America, they all take off and get over there. Unfortunately, it ends up being a drinking contest as well as a golf contest. And that's what happens. Yeah,
they could easily, I think, get the security guards out to the marquee groups where it usually happens and just keep an eye on, face the crowd rather than look where the ball's going, because most of the security people out there are watching the ball themselves. They're not looking at the people. You could do it that way, but unfortunately it's just one of those stupid things that happens.
Headlock them or just ask them to leave?
Give them a little leave pass, I think.
Nice. A couple more bits of feedback here, or one bit of feedback and a question for you. Scott has written in, he heard last week's podcast, and he said, Harry and Rory are obviously close friends, but it's time for a change. My opinion, anyone can caddy within reason, but the best caddies can make a difference, particularly when the pressure on the player is high. It's a tough one, as they've had huge success other than winning majors.
Yeah, we spoke about this, didn't we? Where I think he needs a change in that regard. Someone who's a bit more going to send him a bit of tough love, especially in the majors, which is when he needs it the most. Regular tour events for him, they're not a warm-up event, but they're not as important as we know. He's discussed how the majors are his be-all, end-all, and the pressure he puts on himself. And I think if he could find the right person to maybe calm him down, bring him down to the level he needs to be in at those higher events, and when the tough moments come, to say, Rory, look, let's toughen up here. We need to get this done, rather than, oh, you're doing fine, Rory. It's all great. You need a bit of that.
Has he had the tough love before? And
from JP, he did.
Yeah. Maybe he just needs a break. I reckon,
or a break of some sort.
He'll get back to it. I'm sure. You got to have that strong voice.
Yep.
Particularly if you're contending all the time.
Last one here from, and I apologise if I get this name wrong, Daniel Zabricki. Daniel has said, and this is a question for you guys. Daniel has said, hi guys, love the podcast. Question for Nick and Mark. I've heard you mention a few courses that you're currently members of. How many golf clubs are you currently a member of? And how many clubs have you been a member of throughout your golfing careers?
When I first started playing, I was a member at Ringwood, there just for a very short period of time, Ringwood Public. I felt like I was a member at Albert Park Public because Dad used to play there when he was a kid, so I always got dragged back there to play. And then I was a 30 member of Huntingdale Golf Club, and then I had an opportunity to join Kingston Heath. And I'm glad I did because I was a bit stale at Huntingdale. It's a wonderful club. I loved Huntingdale. I loved my 30 years there. But I needed something to get me playing golf again because I wasn't. It was too much running in tennis where I was running. I was playing tennis. I was too much running in tennis.
You need to play doubles.
Way too much running. Yeah. So I was keen to get back to golf, and Kingston Heath came just at the right time. I've been there for 8 years.
Oh, very good. Well, Daniel, I was a member, I still am a member at Mount Lawley Golf Club in Perth, where I grew up playing. My family's all still there, funnily enough. And then in America, I was at a golf course called Isleworth, which probably has the most famous fire hydrant in history, where Tiger decided to drive into it. A lot of golfers are members there. And then when we moved back to Australia, I'm now a member at the Woodlands Golf Club, which is just happened to be reciprocal with Mount Lawley, so I joined there. I'm at the National. Love playing down at the National, and also now up at Cathedral as well, which is a couple of hours away. So spread out pretty well.
How you going?
Yeah,
you're going.
Not
Just
too
fine.
bad.
Hey, can I ask you a bit of feedback? This is from last week's show, and this is from me. You talking last week about caddies and how they've got to get wet and they've got to get soaking even. As brother, I know that when you lived in Europe, Alana, your wife, was your caddy.
That's right.
Now, how do you deal with the caddy's got to be the soaking one, you're okay, when your wife is your caddy?
Yeah, that was a tricky situation.
Good
and
question.
Probably the reason that we got her off the bag as well, because if we were going to stay married, after a while she said, if we're going to stay married, I think we need to find another caddy. But yeah, that was a tricky one. I was holding the umbrella probably a lot more then than for over her rather than what I would do for Wilbur for sure. And the bag was a lot lighter for Alana as well.
I can remember you.
But I
holding
don't
the
know how
umbrella.
she... here's a story back in the day. I don't know if I've told this one before. We were playing at the K Club.
Yeah.
And Wilbur, unfortunately, his grandfather had passed away. So he said, look, I can caddy the Thursday, but I've got to fly back for a funeral on the Friday. I said, no problem at all. Wilbur, first round, shoots 77. Not a great day at all.
Right.
And we've arranged for Alana to come on the bag on the Friday. So Alana's got the bag, and as we're walking off the first tee, she's going, geez, I don't remember it being this heavy. Halfway down the hole, she plonks it down and says, I'm not sure I can carry this. I said, well, I'm not going to do it because I can't carry this bag around. So she toughened it out, shot 69. With
You're
Alana on the
joking.
bag. On the range the next day, Wilbur got so much crap because Wilbur flew back from the UK, and they've all gone, oh, you're back on the bag. I thought he had a proper caddy on yesterday. So you got your job back. So anyway, it was a lot. She made a comeback once.
That's a mighty effort.
Huge.
To get halfway down the first. Like, if you haven't carried a tour bag for a while.
It's heavy.
It's not like a carry bag. And it's not like your bag that you take.
And she hadn't done it for about
heavy.
5 or 6 years either. So at that point, so it was a big effort.
Did you have your waterproofs in there and a couple extra towels?
I
and
might
some
have.
balls?
I might have had to have ditched some stuff at the halfway hut.
Jeez, gee whiz. Well done, Alana. Okay, it's time for the top 5. Now, I saw this during the Open Championship, and it made a lot of sense to me. I think it was the guys from No Laying Up said somebody has got to put a stop to what Victor Hovland is wearing in this Jay Lindbergh stuff. And if you saw what he was wearing in the last round, you would have to agree. When the Jay Lindbergh stuff came out at the start, I thought, okay, so they're trying a little bit harder, but now they've jumped the shark. They've gone too far.
Did you see the press interview that Victor Hovland did a while back about it? They all said to him, so what do you wear this sort of stuff, in everyday life? He says, no, I just wear blacks and greys and whites. I'm very, very neutral. He said, but every week they send me this stuff and they're paying me, so I got to wear it.
Well, I'm very thankful to the people out there saying we've got to put a stop to this.
So what's your top 5?
The top 5 worst dressed golfers in the history of the sport.
Okay.
Now, I've taken into account different eras as well, because
all right.
What we look back at, with old Tom Morris and young Tom Morris and what their kit was, I get it. They were probably very, very well dressed for their time. But I'm putting Victor Hovland as number 5. And that's only because of this Lindbergh stuff that he's wearing.
Okay.
It's got to stop. It actually has to stop immediately. It's just not on anymore. It's over.
You talking about it is probably exactly what they want.
Yeah,
exactly.
good.
Yeah,
It's over. Number 4. A lot of people like hating this bloke. He beat one of our very best at Augusta, chipping in on the 11th.
Oh, okay.
He actually beat Sevi Ballesteros in that playoff as well, but Sevi 3-putted on the 10th. Larry Mize. Larry Mize wore purple pants 3 times a week. You can't wear purple pants 3 times a week.
Not unless you're the Joker.
Not unless you're a pimp. All right? You just can't do it. You can't do it. And Larry, I forget the brand of what clothes it was, but it was the long sleeves. It was the buttons down the front. They went down to his navel. It's just no good.
I don't think you guys would probably ever have owned a pair of purple pants in your life, right?
No.
No,
Never.
sky blue and that sort. You can get away with a lot as golfers, funnily enough.
Purple,
Yeah,
I've got a purple jumper.
It's tough every now and then if you play a tournament and then you got to go to the shopping centre or the mall in America straight after, and you walk down the mall in what golfers wear, and you think, yeah, I'm a little bit out of place here.
Yeah. All right, this next one, number 3. You got to understand this is my personal taste. All right, I'm not speaking for everybody in this podcast. It's just my personal taste. John Daly wearing the loudmouth stuff went too far as well.
No, I agree.
It was just stupid in the end. They were trying so hard. It was actually loudmouth there for a little while, put on a comp to see how stupid they could make their players look, and they achieved it. They did well. They looked as stupid as you could ever possibly look. So John Daly goes in there as number 3. At number 2, this only lasted about 3 months, but it was atrocious.
Okay.
When Phil Mickelson started wearing business shirts on the golf course.
And that commercial where he was dodging golf balls.
That commercial where he was dancing around wearing this stupid shirt. Outrageous.
Yeah.
Outrageous stupidity, and I'm glad that's over. But the number 1, and this isn't so much for what clothes he was wearing, but what he was wearing on his head. Yarmo Sandlin and the glasses that didn't go around the ears, they went on top of his cranium. And Dan, I've shown you the photos, and you are going to post that on all of our socials, because Yarmo, in my view, was the worst dressed golfer that has ever played the game.
Yarmo, he was a unique human being. I played with him a bit over on the European tour, and I remember one day he showed up with this shirt on that was made of hair.
Yep.
It was a hair shirt.
Yes.
I mean,
I remember.
it was like kind of like a fur coat, but it was a shirt. And I had never seen anything like it. Another time he showed up where he had cowboy boots on, and he decided to nail nails through the bottom of them as his spikes. Yeah, he was just a very unique human being. He was the guy that had the 52-inch driver.
That's right.
And he hit
That's
this
right.
thing.
We were recommending 44 inches a couple shows ago.
I saw him hit it a few times, and when he hit it straight, it went a mile. But I tell you, he hit some colossal wides with that thing.
I wonder where Yarmo is these days.
Oh, he's playing
Seniors, is he?
Legends Tour, I think, on the European side.
We better look him up for next week.
He probably played at the Senior Open.
So you played with him. You didn't though, right?
No, he used to come to Australia a bit, and I couldn't get over some of the outfits he was wearing down here.
Was he just a really quirky guy, or was he kind of putting on a bit?
No, very quirky.
Yeah, quirky.
Very quirky.
Quirky Swede.
Yeah. Yeah, but a lot of the Swedes tend to be a bit that way. They just think outside the box, and probably a lot of them are artists. I don't know.
Yeah.
Speaking of it, we didn't do the Senior Open as well because Alex Checker.
Now, I'm glad you brought it up because apparently the weather on Saturday and Sunday was so obscene that
no one broke par.
Not one person broke par?
Yeah. So the leaders going into Sunday was level par. What do you think won the golf tournament?
2 over.
5 over.
Are you joking?
5 over.
Oh
Alex
my
Checker
God.
beat Padraig Harrington in a playoff. I didn't see Padraig's chip in the playoff, but apparently he chipped it like an 18 handicapper. He kind of duffed it.
Oh.
And Checker won with a birdie on the second playoff hole. But Richard Green tied 7th. Good result for him.
Well done.
Steve Alker was leading after a couple of rounds, but imploded on the weekend. Had a hole-in-one on Saturday, though, in horrific conditions. It was blowing 50, 60 kilometre-hour winds with rain, and it was unbelievable.
All those players you mentioned Spotline, which is great.
Okay.
I know you don't.
Do they?
I want to hear your masterclass next on Spotlining.
All right, so the masterclass this week in honour of Mark because he requested it.
Actually, just before you go any further.
Okay, come on.
How come you didn't Spotline? Because you and Steve Elkington are the only ones.
Yeah.
Everybody else I played with Spotlined.
Yeah.
Why did you not Spotline?
So the reason people do the spotline is because of the intermediate target. They're going to say they're standing on the tee and they're looking down. They're going, right, I want to aim at that tree or the edge of that bunker down there. So they hold their shaft up, getting a nice straight line between that and the ball, and then they pick out something, I don't know, 5, 6 feet away, maybe 10 feet in front of them, an intermediate target, and then they aim at that. I always found I never needed it because once I was over the ball, I knew where I was aiming. Right. The funny thing is...
This is going to make this masterclass even better that you didn't do it.
When I went to right-handed putting, no clue where I was aiming.
So you started spotlighting?
No. Oh. My natural feeling instinct took over, and I just kind of, let the talent come through, so to speak. But
Jack Nicklaus used to spotline his putts.
Intermediate. For sure.
Yeah.
It's a great thing, I think, for a lot of golfers out there because one of the most common errors that we find as professionals when we play with amateur partners is they hit a good shot and it goes 20 yards right and they go, why'd it go there? Well, because you're aiming there. Yeah, exactly. So picking an intermediate target, and what we mean by that is something just in front of you is much easier to aim at than way, way off in the distance. Now, if you play a lot of golf like myself or a lot of pros or whoever, although apparently not many of us do it, you will know where you're going to be aiming. But if you're not quite sure, just point the shaft. So you want to stand about 5 yards behind the ball, look down the line of where you want to go, point the shaft so that it goes over the ball and your target in the distance, and then find something along that shaft that's 5, 6, 10 feet in front of you. Pick that spot, and as you walk into the ball, aim your club face at that spot. Don't aim your feet at it. Aim the club face, and then you set up everything else parallel, and you'll be aiming exactly where you want. And as Mark mentioned on the Evian Championship, basically all the ladies do it. A lot of the men do it on tour as well. The one who stood out for me that when I first saw it, I thought, oh, okay, that's what he's doing, was Justin Rose. Yeah. So I'll do a video, put it on the socials, and it'll be out this week, and it might help you hit them straighter.
One handy tip that I can add to your
please, because I've never done it.
Because you're not... When you're walking in, don't look at the ball, look at the spot.
You have to look at the spot. You've got to look at
the spot, because if you change, then you've got to search for the spot.
and make sure the spot is...
time.
Yeah, make sure it's not a speck of grass or anything. Make sure it's a divot or a leaf or something which is bigger than, a 5 cent coin.
I'll be watching your masterclass on our socials.
You'll be filming it.
And make sure that you're watching the spot on the way in. It's a very important part.
Brilliant.
Righto, I'll catch you next week.
All right, thanks, mate.
Oh, there it is. That's Nick O'Hearn and Mark Allen's podcast, Talk Birdie to Me. Now, if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you hit subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts, and you'll never miss an episode. And if you can share with a friend, well, that'll be awesome too. Talk Birdie to Me's executive producer is Dan Bradley at Kaizen Media. Sound design, Daryl Misson at loudzebra.com.